The January 14, 2026 Prosper Portland Board of Commissioners meeting is now convened. Hannah, will you please call the roll?
Commissioner Staudenmaier Wesley.
Present. Thank you. All right, I have a brief notice to read. As required by state law, Prosper Portland has provided an opportunity for the public to access and attend this meeting in person. There's also a YouTube live stream video of the meeting, and the public has had the opportunity to arrange in advance to provide virtual testimony. The public may provide written testimony to the commission by emailing prospercommissioners@prosperportland.us. Again, prospercommissioners@prosperportland.us. All right, so we'll go with our usual process and start with commissioner reports. Does anybody have anything they'd like to report this month?
I'd like to say something to start this meeting with after reading the paper over the last couple of days. That's not necessarily a report. I feel like, I think in these public forums, in these public settings, and in our board, we're a board entirely of people who are people of color right now. And reading in the paper, the comments that happened at the city of Portland around some of the commissioners who are commissioners of color, I just want to say that I appreciate my fellow commissioners and the staff of color here who are in public spaces as people of color. And I know that that often can be incredibly challenging. And the criticisms of you and of us as those people often can take on a personal and racist note. And that is damaging to our whole community in a way that is more harmful to people of color. And it discourages them from stepping forward into these positions. And I think we need to say that publicly. And so I want to say that I appreciate those of us who've served on this board and who are willing to serve on other boards and who are willing to be in these spaces, because it isn't like we don't know those things are said about us behind our backs. It isn't like it's a secret to us that is happening, or that those text messages or that back and forth is happening, calling us all sorts of names and things like that. But I just want to say that, like, sitting in these spaces and being in solidarity and being in community with other people when they experience that is really critical. And so I just want to say to the commissioners that happened to. It's very unfortunate, and I'm sorry. And I want to say to our staff who come up here, who are often in these public spaces, who are leading these public discussions that can get highlighted and can get riled up, that as a commissioner, that we are clearly in support of you, and know that if that happens to you, we want to have a safe space for you. So.
Thank you very much for those comments. Very well put. Commissioner Staudenmaier Wesley, do you have anything you'd like to add? Okay, thank you. All right, next we'll have the Executive Director report with Cornell Wesley.
Thank you, Chair Cruz. On last Friday, December 9th, I was invited to provide a keynote speech at the Oregon Association of Minority Entrepreneurs breakfast event. Prosper Portland has partnered with OAMI for more than a quarter century, and that sustained collaboration is something we should all be proud of. I had not yet had the chance to meet with many OAMI leaders and members, and this was a wonderful opportunity to connect with folks and hear their stories. I want to thank Bill Prowse and the entire OAMI team for the invitation. Yesterday, members of our economic development team appeared before City Council's Arts and Economy Committee regarding the city's Enterprise Zone program. Prosper staff, along with representatives from the Port of Portland and Alaska Airlines, requested a minor amendment to the existing E-zone boundary. Alaska Airlines is planning to invest at least $120 million in the construction of a maintenance hangar on port property, and the amended boundary will enable Alaska to apply to participate in the E-zone program. This investment is projected to create over 100 new living wage jobs. This new investment by Alaska is something we all should be excited about, and I will add how proud I am of the collaboration between all partners involved. I'm pleased to note that the A&E committee was supportive of this action and unanimously approved moving the boundary request to the full city council for a vote that will happen in early February. I also want to recognize the outstanding work of Faye Aiken, Pam Neal, Elaine Say, and Allison Schweiger, and Eric Knoll, and Andrew Fitzpatrick for their contribution to get this across the finish line. Also on Wednesday, January 7th, the Cully-Tiff District Community Leadership Committee voted to recommend the first Cully-Tiff District 5-year action plan move to Prosper Portland's board and city council for approval. It was unanimous, and the vote and the attendance was quite compelling. As a reminder, the creation of the Cully-Tiff District has been a multi-year partnership between the community and Prosper and the Portland Housing Bureau. The draft action plan represents more than 2 years worth of engagement and discussion, and I truly appreciate all of the time community and staff have invested in the process to get us to this point. The draft action plan, which you commissioners will be learning more about in the coming months, includes recommendations on investing more than $31 million over the next 5 years on community-identified priorities focused on economic development and affordable housing projects. And I want to note that our shared work in Cully has served and will continue to serve as blueprint for our collaborative work in creating the 6 new TIF districts. I want to thank our dedicated partners on the Community Leadership Committee, as well as the In Living Cully Coalition, which includes Hacienda, Habitat for Humanity, Native American Youth, and Family Center and Verde. Finally, I want to recognize the tremendous work of our team, including Catherine Hardinger, Angela Wynn-Ta, Brian Moore, and Lisa Abwaf, as well as our colleagues at the Portland Housing Bureau. Now, speaking of East Portland, I want to note that the East Portland TIF Leadership Kickoff Event, Part 2, which was scheduled for last Thursday night, will happen later tonight. The kickoff event will be held at the Hollis School, located at 14513 or 14513. I don't know how we say that. We just roll with me. Southeast Stark Street from 6 to 8 p.m. You can go to prosperportland.us and click on the events tab for more information. This meeting was rescheduled following the unfortunate events that transpired last week involving actions taken by federal agents in East Portland. And I'm gonna take a personal point of privilege and say if we will pause for those families that are impacted. These are unprecedented times, and I wanna appreciate everyone involved for their flexibility and their humanity. Portland Staycation is back with a winter edition. For the first time, Portland Staycation is partnering with the Portland Winter Lights Festival, transforming the first 2 weekends in February into a radiant celebration of art, light, food, and discovery. Central City businesses, events, and attractions are also invited to join this campaign. Business owners and folks leading events and attractions can go to portlandstaycation.com to learn more and to get involved. The deadline to sign up is Thursday, January the 15th. For more information on the Portland Winter Lights Festival, please, again, visit pdxwlf.com. That's a lot of websites to visit. For those who are watching and in attendance, please take note. Looking ahead, the Business Advancement Team in our Economic Development Department will host an open house and resource fair on Wednesday, January the 28th. I'm going to repeat that. The Business Advancement Team in our Economic Development Department will host an open house and resource fair on Wednesday, January the 28th. The open house will focus on economic development resources like tax incentives, grants, loans, etc., that are available to our local businesses. In addition to our team, the event will include representatives from Business Oregon, the Port of Portland, and the City of Gresham. Business owners and representatives interested in participating in the open house can email our colleague Elaine Say at prosperportland.us. And now we have some new employee announcements. Prosper Portland is pleased to welcome 2 recent additions to our staff and to celebrate 2 significant staff milestones. Michelle Comer, has joined Prosper Portland as a project manager in the Office of Events and Film, where she will help deliver customer-centered navigation and research supports to both events and film producers across Portland. Michelle is an expert at navigating complex projects from ideation to execution, having previously worked as a senior manager at Travel Portland and as the principal of Vita in Color, an event production firm specializing in large-scale community activations and strategic marketing. Michelle also was a co-founder of My People's Market and has collaborated with Prosper Portland in the past on activations like the Portland Winter Ice Rink, Winter Window Stories, and Summer Plazas at the North Park Blocks and Telecom Plaza. Please, let's all welcome her with a round of applause for joining the Prosper team. Next, we have Ezra Horak, who has joined Prosper Portland as the agency's new human resources business partner. Ezra brings over a decade of human resource experience across both public and private sector organizations. They have deep expertise in employee benefits, HRIS administration, onboarding, and employee communications. Ezra is passionate about building inclusive, well-supported workplaces and will play an important role in strengthening our HR operations and employee experience. We are also, let me pause there. Let's recognize Ezra, please. We are also celebrating 2 staff anniversaries. Mark Padgett, don't you go and stand, Mark. You know, we got to see you. Now, you've been putting some time in. Let them see you. Let them see you. And Carrie Simmers. Carrie, where you at? Where's Carrie? You in the room? All right. They are both celebrating a whopping 25 years of service at Prosper Portland. Let's recognize their commitment. So we thank you both for your commitment to public service. We thank you to our new team members for your service, and we welcome Michelle and Ezra. And again, congratulations to Mark and Carrie. Chair Cruz, I turn it back to you.
Great, thank you very much, Executive Director Wesley, and congratulations to all. That's great. Just a quick question on that open house. Where is that? Where is that located? Do you know? Is that here or is that?
Ting, open house, that is walking out the door?
Yeah.
It's here?
Here.
Right here,
Right
Prosper
here?
Portland.
Okay, great. Good. Okay, just want to confirm. Okay. Next up, we have meeting minutes for December 17, 2025. Would anybody like to make a motion to approve the minutes from December 17, 2025?
So moved.
Thank you.
So second.
Thank you so much. All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, minutes are approved. Thank you. Okay, next we have public comment for items not on the agenda. And Hannah, do we have anybody lined up to speak?
To my knowledge, no one has requested to speak.
Okay, thank you. As I mentioned earlier, the public can provide public comment to the commission by emailing prospercommissioners@prosperportland.us. Great, thank you. Okay, next we have item 6. This is an action item, adopting a minor amendment to the Lloyd Holiday Urban Renewal Plan, adopting a revised property plan for 910 Northeast MLK Junior Boulevard, and approving the terms of an intergovernmental agreement with Metro to fund improvements at 910 Northeast MLK Boulevard. Will Thier and Amy Nagy will present. Welcome, Will and Amy.
No, just there. Okay. New systems, getting used to them. Good afternoon, Commissioners, Executive Director Wesley, nice to see you all. For the record, my name is Amy Nagy. I'm a Development Manager within the Development and Investment Department here at Prosper Portland, joined by my colleague Will Thier, who is our Real Estate Manager. Next slide, please. Commissioners, we are here to request that you take 3 actions, as the chair just ran through. The first, to approve a minor amendment to the Lloyd Holiday TIF plan. The second is to adopt a revised real estate property plan for what's known as the 910 building, but located at 910 Northeast MLK Junior Boulevard. And the third is to approve a proposed terms for an intergovernmental agreement with Metro. Next slide, please. This effort actually aligns very well with the Advance Portland, particularly Goal 3 in fostering a vibrant central city, in yielding outcomes of activating commercial space, continuing to work to improve Portland's reputation, as well as highlighting Central City as really a regional gathering place. Next slide, please. I wanted to provide just a little bit of background for you on the 910 building. It is located just across from the Oregon Convention Center, between Northeast Holiday and Pacific Streets, and between Northeast Grand and MLK. The agency actually acquired the property back in 2005, and it was intended for the development of the Oregon Convention Center Hotel. Metro at the time deemed an alternative site as more feasible, and so it's located just kitty corner in what we know as the Hyatt today. The building has sat vacant for an extended period of time. It was located in the Oregon Convention Center TIF district. We heard significant kind of input and interest from community about repositioning the asset, particularly as a potential to take advantage of the opportunity to bring more local food options into Lloyd. There is a deficit. We've heard from community members. We've done market analysis. We've experienced it when we're in Lloyd. As we pursued a project, we did not have enough resources at the time of the district's closure in order to actually reposition the asset. But as we are meeting now with our current working group in the Lloyd Holiday TIF district that's putting together the action plan, they have signaled that they are interested and think the project should continue. And if TIF resources become available in the future, they would like to consider putting them forward to take out the Metro loan. Next slide, please. So the concept, we've got this highly visible location. We've got renovations next door to a property that we just sold, and there's a great opportunity to bring a food and drink venue into the district, wanting to showcase what Portland does best, which is really delivering high quality food and drink. Also giving an opportunity to complement kind of what happens at the Oregon Convention Center. We do have folks here from Metro who will speak to this, but looking for more opportunities and more offerings for folks in the district for both our visitors. We've got over I think it's a couple 100,000 that visit the convention center every year. We have over 10,000 employees in the district and thousands of residents that are looking for opportunities. So there is demand. Next slide, please. So our project goals, there's really 4 of them. One is, particularly as we're supporting small businesses, is providing a low-cost opportunity, kind of a lower barrier of entry for those that are involved in and run food and beverage businesses. We want to make sure that we're expanding those food options where we can in the Lloyd neighborhood and supporting the district to become actually a competitive venue for some of those offerings. Folks many times have to leave the district in order to find something similar. We also want to make sure that we're activating the building. It has not lived up to its full potential, I would say. And so there's an opportunity to really immediately kind of increase and improve that appeal, particularly also making the district more appealing. And just before I turn it over to Will to talk more about the business aspects of the project, I just wanted to highlight a few of the kind of key design priorities that we've been working on with our architectural team, as well as with the operator. Thinking about this really as a place where people could gather for 4 seasons, right? And so you have an indoor venue where you could host everyday folks that are going to be eating from the food carts, drinking from the bar, et cetera, but also having an opportunity to be flexible and have a dynamic layout where we will have private events and offering another place in the district. We want to make sure we're drawing attention and interest. So you saw there are some kind of rough schematics about what we could do with the facade. Nobody knows this, but there are these beautiful wood trusses in that building. You would believe that there's nothing in there, but they're fantastic. So you see them highlighted here in this schematic. There's a plaza just next door that we actually own, but Metro maintains and operates for us. So that's an option for kind of an extended event. And then always providing safe and a professional experience for folks. And with that, I'll turn it over to Will.
Okay, thanks, Amy. Again, Will Thier, real estate manager here. So in terms of the business plan, at a high level, the plan will consist of renovating the existing property over the next 18 or so months. And then the property will be master leased to a qualified third-party operator who will manage the event spaces as well as the main bar and the eating hall. The operator will then license local carts with space within the access-controlled patio area. This is a visual diagram of the business relationships that will need to be established to enable this project. So starting from the top left, investment partners, which are currently anticipated to be Metro, would provide a 10-year loan to Prosper Portland as the owner of the property. This loan would be used to partially finance the construction costs of the renovation. Then we, as the owner, would sign a 10-year lease with the venue operator, who would in turn license individual cart spaces to local entrepreneurs who would bring their own carts to the location and operate and do business there. In order to ensure the operations of the property run smoothly, professionally, and in a financially sustainable manner, staff issued a request for interest and qualifications back in October. The requirements included both demonstrated experience managing food and beverage establishments, as well as event spaces. Importantly, to ensure the financial interests are aligned of all the stakeholders and participants in the project, and to provide confidence around the initial launch and stabilization of business operations, candidates were evaluated based on their financial capacity and ability to contribute toward project costs. So after evaluating responses to that RFIQ, Chef's Table was selected based on their past experience, their team, and their willingness to participate financially in the build-out. Led by Kurt Huffman, Chef's Table has opened and operated and supported over 40 restaurants and other establishments in the Portland area and elsewhere. And just as a note, Kurt is here in the audience and is available to provide testimony after this presentation. So then, turning to the project details, here's an overview of the development programming, the project schedule, and the sources and uses. The bar and event spaces will occupy the 14,000 square feet building on the west half of the property, while the 10 food carts will occupy the patio area on the eastern half. If approved by the board, we anticipate submitting for permits this spring and would expect to begin construction in the fall. Opening date right now is projected as late summer 2027, so construction would take roughly 9 to 10 months. The sources of funding for the project are anticipated to be a $3 million loan from Metro, $4 million in program income investment from Prosper Portland, and then $500,000 from our operator partner, Chef's Table. The funds will be used to complete the design and permitting and to pay costs related to construction and tenant improvements. We're also reserving 5% of the budget for interest and operating reserves. Okay, I've mentioned Metro a couple of times in this presentation so far. Metro oversees the Oregon Convention Center and has been a close partner all along the way from ideation through preliminary design and feasibility, as Amy mentioned. Metro staff have expressed support and interest for the project as it will directly benefit the amenity package that the convention center can offer to prospective convention organizers. Staff are requesting approval of the following loan terms that you see here to be presented to the Metro Council for their consideration in the upcoming weeks as part of completing the capital stack for this project. And then in terms of timeline and next steps, again, if approved, staff would begin the process of contracting for both the remainder of the design work as well as the construction scope. Staff would return in February to the LCRB board with a set of findings to enable us to pursue a CMGC contract for a contractor. And then we would anticipate bringing the proposed terms of the IGA loan to the Metro Council board sometime around March. At the same time, we'll submit our initial plans to design review. And while our designs are under review with the city, we'll then issue an RFP for the contractor and get them on board to provide some pre-construction services as we finalize those construction drawings and get ready to actually move into vertical construction. And then again, as I said, we anticipate that we'll be ready to begin construction in the fall with a targeted doors open date of late summer 2027. So as a recap of the current actions that will enable this project to move forward, staff's requesting that the board approve the minor amendment to the TIF plan, adopt a revised property plan directing staff to progress this project, and then approving the proposed terms of the IGA to Metro to finance the construction.
Thank you. So why don't we go ahead and have our invited testimony then, and then we'll have questions, commissioners. So next we have Owen Roncelli, Executive Director of Go Lloyd, and Craig Stroud and Cindy Wallace representing Metro. And I think you're all here. I hope you're all here. Great.
Great.
Thank you and welcome. Thanks for coming.
For having us. Good afternoon, Commissioners. My name is Owen Roncelli. I'm Executive Director of Go Lloyd. We're a transportation management association that promotes economic development of our neighborhood through transportation programs and strategic partnerships. Our mission is to connect people and places by creating partnerships and transportation solutions to make Lloyd extraordinary. I'm also the former Executive Director of the Lloyd Enhanced Services District, whose programs promote public safety, transportation access, economic development, and neighborhood advocacy. Thank you for having me here today and providing a community perspective on the proposed project. MLK and Grand are key corridors for Lloyd, bringing people into and out of the neighborhood. The two properties that Amy highlighted in her presentation, the Inn of the Convention Center and the 910 building, have been longstanding opportunities for the neighborhood to improve the look and feel of those two corridors and in a manner that better serves those that live, work, and visit the Lloyd neighborhood. Over the years, I've been a part of numerous community conversations about the future of the 910 property, including presentations to our board, and more recently on the Lloyd Holiday TIF Action Working Group. In all these discussions, the priority has been to transform that building into a neighborhood asset that will support small business and draw in visitors. The current proposal reflects those community priorities, and I'm excited about the prospect of improving the overall look of the building, given that it's across the street from the front of the convention center and having a new place for everyone in Lloyd to enjoy a slice of Portland's local food culture throughout the year. And honestly, sadly to say that that is something that our neighborhood is in short supply of and definitely needs. As we continue to recover from the impacts of the pandemic and in our discussions about how we prioritize future TIF dollars, Lloyd is focused on the opportunities for investment that will make our neighborhood look and feel more commercially successful and be a place of culture and connecting people through the amenities like high-quality food, public art, and places to gather. We're really excited for this project, and we're excited about the agency's investment in it. So, thank you.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, Chairman Cruz, Commissioners, and Executive Director Wesley. Craig Stroud, General Manager of Metro's Venues, Oregon Zoo, Convention Center, Expo Center, and Portland 5 Centers for the Arts. Joining me today is Cindy Wallace, Executive Director of the Convention Center and the Expo Center. We are pleased that Prosper Portland approached us several years ago with this concept to convert the 910 building into a food cart amenity for our visitors at the convention center, residents of the region, guests that go to the Moda Center, et cetera. That space has sat fallow and vacant for many years. As noted in the staff's report, we do manage the block just south of that that's a plaza, and we use that space for convention clients. And the public uses that space when it's not programmed, which is predominantly it's not programmed, just for public use. You'll see people eating lunches, perhaps skateboarding around the outside or even inside, and just enjoying that amenity across the street from the convention center. As I understand, today Prosper Portland is seeking permission to engage Metro Council in a conversation around what a structured agreement could look like for a $3 million Metro loan. We are catching up with Metro Council on that loan concept. They're generally aware that this idea is out there, but we've not had an opportunity to sit down at this level with these details as shown in the offering. But at the Convention Center in fiscal year '24, generated about $400 million of economic impact for our region, represents about 2,700 jobs, nearly $30 million of tax revenue at the state and local level, a little under 300 events, and about 500,000 visitors. So it's a major economic driver in Northeast Portland. With our situation and proximity to the Moda Center, we're really a visitor destination that drives a lot of economic activity. As some others have said before me, the food and beverage and just event offerings within the Lloyd District, they've suffered since the pandemic and recovering. We see this as a really important investment to offer not only to convention clients, but just to the everyday citizens that are looking for places to eat lunch, as well as a location to gather on your way to or from events at the Moda Center and other. Over the course of years, Prosper's been a fantastic partner. We partnered on the Hyatt Hotel, the Hyatt Regency at the Oregon Convention Center, and the associated parking garage. We continue to see investment into that those blocks proximate to the convention center. With this recent sale of the Inn at the convention center and this block now looking at redevelopment, those are important pieces that just have not caught up with the aesthetics and the visitor experience that we're hoping to deliver to our guests. The convention industry is very competitive, and Executive Director Wallace can speak to kind of the sales component of that and how we compete nationally and particularly on the West Coast for convention clients. But this improvement will really help put a positive foot forward as we bring folks into town to explore whether they should bring their association and delegates to Portland. We hear consistently that we're a bit in a food desert and an offering desert, so this is one step that helps move that needle. And we believe that it will be successful. That said, there's a lot of hospitality conversation right now about uses of monies and investments that the region needs. So, I've got my work cut out to go back to Metro Council and source those funds, but we are excited to partner with you, and we hope we can get to yes on this exciting endeavor. Cindy, would you like to speak to anything around the sales process or what you hear from clients that might just help inform the commission?
Sure. I mean, it is that particular building and block is a little bit of an eyesore being directly across from the convention center. So it is a point of conversation when we're doing citywide tours and competing with other cities for future conventions from 26 to 2031 is what we're looking at in selling Portland. And so any enhancement to the surrounding areas of the convention center would help with our selling of the city as a convention destination, not just only the convention center. So we're hoping that this is something that we can support and that we also can share when we're out and about exhibiting and competing with other cities, that this is something that is going to be new to the area. There's a lot of conversation and questions from our citywide planners out there asking what is new that Portland has to offer. So we literally flew in last night from Philadelphia exhibiting and some of the new things that we're talking about is the James Beard Marketplace. We'd love to add this particular project to the conversation, adding more enhancements to our convention goers as well as our community. and just making it, being able to offer more amenities to our guests.
Thank you. Questions for our guests?
Or my mic. I have a set of questions, but I'm not sure if they're for the guests or for the staff. It may be partially for both.
Maybe we should
So,
have staff come back up.
okay. It'd be
Great, thank you
great.
for coming. Appreciate your comments.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I do think my first question might be for the convention center folks, sorry. Sorry, I'm sorry about that, but if I reorder them, I feel like if we're to move forward with this, I feel like the sort of neighborhood, it is a neighborhood that relies heavily on the convention center. And what is your sort of offerings of the support for the surrounding, like, operation, the ongoing operations of this, and how it, and then I guess to follow up on that, like, what's our expectation that this kind of matches the sort of similar, it's a tourist area, right? And I think both regionally a tourist area and also nationally. So we have things that happen at the convention center, but a lot of people come into Portland for the Moda Center and that area. I feel like the operators in that area operate based off of the influx and the outflux of this. So what's the supports that, as you operate the convention center, how are you partnering with the other local businesses to help them match the need for what you're bringing in?
Speak to that a little bit. Well, we do already work with surrounding businesses on when there is the flux so that we can scale, or they can scale rather. I mean, we do the
great.
same. We scale our
Yeah.
workforce based on the amount of events and amount of attendees that we have to service. And so do the surrounding businesses. And so this will be an operation that will need to understand how to scale their business based on convention business or Moda Center business.
And then I guess my follow-up to that is like, how are we operating, or what's the plan to work with the operator on this so that it matches the touristy, I don't know how to say this, but like the touristy feel that we're looking for to make this successful? Because I think that it is a unique space. If we're gonna use it as an attraction to the city, then it has to sort of be an attraction. Because we have a lot of food carts and a lot of food pods around the city that are lovely, and I enjoy them all, and they may not be attractions.
So I'll just remind the commissioners that our operator partner is here, Kurt Huffman, and so I think he'd be a great one to answer that question and provide his thoughts on how he plans to do exactly that.
Chair, Commissioners, Kurt Huffman, I own Chef's Stable. We've been doing business since 2008 in Portland. So we've partnered on just over 100 restaurants and businesses, most recently partnering with Prosper Portland on Dos Hermanos, which is a bakery now that we have 2 locations of, with the big production facility that you guys were financial partners in. Much appreciated. And so happy to answer all your questions.
So Kurt, tell me, how will you make this a tourist destination so we get our $7 million?
Well, I think, so for instance, I'll talk a little bit about Midtown Beer Garden. That was an effort when the pandemic hit. We recognized the need to reinvest a little bit in that part of town. It was right on the border where the fentanyl market was. And we wanted to re-engage somehow to kind of transform what was certainly an area that wasn't viewed positively by the community, and to bring a certain energy level and a reinvestment into creating, once again, kind of a safe, pedestrian-friendly, family-friendly environment. And food carts and the activity around it really proved to be kind of the foundation and the catalyst for that. So I'm a big believer, well, you know, food creates community, especially in this town. So to be able to really invest in something that provides a safe, dynamic, and supported infrastructure for all of these businesses, I think, is first of all critical, but it also allows for us to have a really unique environment for a food cart. Most food carts, pods, don't have that kind of safety for the operators and then cleanliness for the guests. I mean, it's just that way, right? We're able to do that at Midtown Beer Garden because we have a billion-dollar company that's our partner in Expensify. Here, we have the infrastructure and the architecture and the landscaping to provide that same level of security. So although there are a lot of food cart pods in Portland, this is unique in that way. We also have a venue on the inside whose formal capacity, I think, is over 500 people. So in terms of it as a venue, it is truly unique. I don't think that outside of a large hotel or the convention center, there's actually a space that can accommodate that many people in the city for those kinds of large conventions. So I think the hybridized business model that we've put together is one is smart, because we're not talking about one specific level, kind of source of revenue. We're talking about potentially, bar activity at nighttime for games, with the fire coming in, the Blazers already here, all the concerts. We have everything at the convention center. We have then daytime activity. We have nighttime activity, and we're talking about a hybridized floor plan inside where we can move stuff around. And that we've done with our other event spaces as well, just to, so you can have it feel more intimate during the daytime, but then also move stuff away. So, I'm never gonna, whenever I do P&Ls for people, I show break-evens, because I never wanna promise something that we can't deliver. I'd rather under-promise and over-deliver. But that said, I feel very confident this is gonna be a unique venue that Portland will be very proud of. And I think it also happens to further the goals of Prosper in terms of supporting, precisely the kind of businesses and individuals that we want to support.
So I haven't been to the Midtown Beer Garden. I think I need to go there.
Yes, you're welcome. Anytime. We accept people over 50.
But what this reminded me of was a food cart setup that I went to not too long ago out off Woodstock. And I don't know I forget what that's called, but I'm sure you know what I'm talking about. Heist, yes.
Yeah.
And it this sort of reminded me of that. We haven't seen a lot of renderings. We saw a couple of photos, whatnot, but it had the indoor-outdoor component to it. The pods right there, bar inside. And I was shocked at how many people were there, like on a weekend night. It was ridiculous, packed. And
Yeah,
of course, when the weather's nice, it's easier to get that foot
And that's the
traffic.
direction that food carts are going. I mean,
Yeah.
originally, we own Lardo on Hawthorne, and right across the street is one of the original ones. Our second restaurant was right next to where the Ritz-Carlton is now. We remember it in the past as being a fantastic food cart pod. We helped Nong build out our first food cart pod there from Nong's Kalman guy. So once Multnomah County Health and the city of Portland changed the obligations in terms of now you have to have grease interceptors, you have to have spacing and so forth. The economics have changed a lot, and quite frankly, food cart pods, and in our pro forma, they're not a profit center. They're truly an attraction. And then it's really all the residual activity from the bar, from events and so forth. That's where the business comes, right? You're essentially providing a unique kind of eating opportunity outside, and then really all the the revenue opportunities on the inside. But that's the direction that places are going. It's year-round comfort. We'll have almost 4 times more seats than even the Heist has. So almost infinite capacity on the inside. And then a bar offering. I mean, if you look at the renderings, it's a pretty remarkable a bar. It's probably almost 80 linear feet, I think, of bar. So we can kind of scale up and scale down depending on the crowd size. So, but that is the direction that carts are going. And we struggle with that at Midtown Beer Garden because we're slammed all summer. As soon as the sun peeks out and us Portlanders run outside into the sunshine, we're busy. But right now it's very slow. So we're able to kind of counterbalance that seasonality by having comfortable indoor, warm or cool seating year-round.
I would also add that there is a fairly significant density of both office worker employees in the Lloyd District as well as new residents at places like 8th and Haslow, along with a variety of hotels. And so there are not just tourist visitors, but also business, business travelers as well. So I think that yes, we anticipate that the volume of business will obviously fluctuate with the large events that come and go, but I think that there is plenty of innate demand that fills in those times in between.
Could somebody speak to the budget for this project a little bit? We didn't get a lot of detail on that, but $6 million, what exactly will be done to the building with that? Is it structural work, seismic, combination?
It's a combination. So the business or the building, as we mentioned, has been vacant for quite some time. And so most of the interior really is not usable and the systems are not usable. So it will need to be taken basically down to the studs and then built back out with some seismic improvements, but really by and large, the electrical, plumbing, HVAC systems, and then to build out the patio area where the food carts will actually be located requires some partial demolition of the existing building that's over on that side of the building, and leveling and grading, and then laying some horizontal infrastructure for the grease traps and the water and electricity that would serve the carts.
I have a quick question. Not a quick question, but I'll get there. First, I want to say to the Convention Center, thank you, because I appreciate the partnerships that you all do. So when things are happening, you do reach several blocks out. And so I appreciate that as we're starting to plan different events in that area. Secondly of all, I'm not a food cart person, but are they going to be charged rent? And will there be a very diverse mix of food that will be there, not just because of the conventions and activities that are going here, but for the folks that are in that neighborhood as well?
They will be charged rent. I think it's a below market rent that we're, food cart rent back in the time of Nong's, where, they used to just pay for a parking spot. So it's $280 a spot. Now, given all the investments that are required, grease interceptor, power, they're quite a bit more. I'd say the average rent right now is about $2,500 a month for a cart, up to $3,000 at something like the Heist, $3,500. But as far as how you program a cart, you need to make sure you're not bringing in, you can't have 7, burrito carts. You have to have a diversity there. What's nice about food carts is that in our experience, we manage about 30 carts total. There's 85% of them are immigrant or minority owned, so you have an unbelievable diversity in terms of food offering, certainly much more diverse than sit-down restaurants, because the barriers to entry are so low, and you only need 1 or 2 people to manage them. So there's always a diversity, and you have to really carefully program it to make sure that there's not you're not cannibalizing sales, and that, because they'll get testy. If somebody's selling a burger and another person's selling a burger, you can't have that. So you have to be very careful to make sure that everybody has kind of a unique offering given the setting.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Yeah.
Appreciate the work that you all do.
Any more questions?
I think, no, I feel like no, I don't have a question. I think I have a comment before we move forward, but I really appreciate everyone answering the questions that I have had about this. And then I do want to say, I work in the area, so I really appreciate Go Lloyd. I actually think our staff use it quite a bit. And so all of the work, and I think there's a lot of potential here fundamentally around this project and the rebuild out of the Lloyd Center area, but also as that expands to the Moda Center. And I think the opportunity is huge if we do it correctly, and if we do it in partnership, and that we really highlight. I do think that there is a base of workers there, Will. I 100% agree with you, but I think that this is a tourist center for our city. And so even as a person who works there. I still feel like we should treat it as a tourist center for our city and amp that up so that we do get more business. It is we're offering the new shiny things to attract more convention center. We're giving people the reason to, when they drive in from Beaverton or Gresham or wherever, that they want to come back and do it again. And, you know, we can't swing a stick without a cheerleading competition at the convention center. So like, I feel like having, you know, that space where people are being able to bring their kids to that area. So there's a lot of opportunity. I feel like it's a little bit of a risk, but I'm really excited about the project, so.
Well, thanks very much to everyone for coming. We really appreciate your comments, and thanks for answering our questions. So,
Thank you.
Thank you.
okay then. Well, with that in mind, we have 3 resolutions to adopt, and I believe we have to adopt them all separately. So I will just refer to them by number. Would someone like to make a motion to approve resolution number 7632?
I make a motion to approve Resolution 7632.
I second.
All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
All right, passes unanimously. Likewise, resolution number 7633. Someone like,
I make a motion for Resolution 7633.
thank you,
Second.
thank you. All those in favor?
Aye.
Passes unanimously. And finally, 7634. Someone like to make a motion?
I make a motion to approve Resolution 7634.
Thank you.
I second the motion, and then I have one more question about this, so I'm sorry. If Metro doesn't approve the loan, what happens?
You guys like to?
So if we aren't able to receive project funding from Metro, then either the project would need to be shelved, or we would need to look to additional unbudgeted funds from Prosper Portland or some other potential investment partner.
It would come back to the board again. Yeah.
That's correct, absolutely, yeah.
So I also want to make sure that just as we move forward with this project, that we're as a board sending a message. So I think it would be good to get a letter from the board to the Metro Council about how critical this is for us and how critical it is that the convention center and the redevelopment of the area, that our success is tied together. The city's success, Metro success, the convention center success is all tied together. So if we could just send that, and with that, I'm ready to vote.
That's a good idea. Thank you. All right, all those in favor of 7634?
Aye.
Okay, all 3 pass. Thank you. Okay, our next item is an action item number 7. This is authorizing the acquisition of real property located at 125 Northwest 4th Avenue, and Will Thier will present on this one too. So welcome back.
Thank you.
Excuse
Okay,
me.
so, good afternoon again, Commissioners, Chair Cruz, Executive Director Cornell Wesley. I am Will Thier, Real Estate Manager here at Prosper Portland. I'm also joined by Aname Egbedi, the Real Estate Analyst here at Prosper Portland, so he'll be joining me for the presentation. Today, staff is requesting that the board approve the acquisition of Block 33, which is a surface parking lot at 125 Northwest 4th Avenue. That's the board action request. The proposed action aligns with Objective 3 of Advance Portland, and focuses on supporting small businesses, retail, and entertainment, and reinforcing the Central City as a regional gathering space. I also want to say that this action is a continuation of the agency's longstanding support for the Old Town Chinatown District. The Old Town Chinatown Action Plan was created in 2014 and was subsequently extended in 2020 to run through the end of this current fiscal year. Total commitments of $57 million over that 10-year period. Development and implementation of the action plan has been and has always been a collaborative effort between Prosper Portland, the local community association here, as well as our bureau partners over at the city. Action plan priorities have focused primarily on property reinvestment and redevelopment, storefront improvements, things of that nature, business vitality, business support, and district livability. So the acquisition of this site, Block 33, would serve to support all three of those priorities. It's important to note also that the remainder of that Old Town Chinatown action plan budget has been fully allocated to existing community projects and priorities at this time. As such, the funding source for this proposed acquisition would be coming from the Strategic Investment Fund. And just as a reminder for folks that are listening, SIF is an investment vehicle designed for income-generating opportunities that align with the agency's mission priorities. This acquisition also aligns with our financial investment and real estate policy, which was updated and approved by the board earlier this last summer. Block 33 is a key community asset for Old Town Chinatown. It's the primary parking location for all of the adjacent historical buildings, most of whom don't have any parking of their own. It's also, as the district's primary landing pad for visitors and commuters, it's one of the first impressions that people get when they come down to visit the neighborhood. One of Prosper Portland's main goals with this acquisition is to improve the security, cleanliness, and overall inviting environment of the district and of that site in particular. Additionally, ownership of the parcel creates some opportunities for potential pop-up activations on the site during times when the parking is not being used by visitors and commuters. And then also, of course, the potential to guide and steward future development, vertical development of the site. So I'm going to now turn it over to Anime to cover the details of the transaction.
Thank you, Will. Good afternoon, Commissioners. I'm Onome Egbedi, the real estate analyst at Prosper Portland here. The subject property, Block 33, is located between Couch and Davis and 4th and 5th Avenue in the Central District, Business District. It's a full city block with flexible zoning and possesses substantial development entitlements. Staff has completed all due diligence on the property. The site conditions are typically for properties in Old Town Chinatown, both in terms of environmental and biotechnical conditions. The property has generated stable income since recovering from COVID, and a pair of independent appraisals has valued the property between $6.7 to $9 million. Of note, there are some unique title conditions that relate to future development, and I'll go into that later in the presentation. Next slide. Given that the property is both an operating parking asset but also has future development potentials, we have looked at both situations when negotiating the purchase price. For the purpose of land banking and development, we have ensured that the price per square foot and the price for floor area ratio both are in line with like recent sales. And regarding its value as an ongoing parking operation, we focus on fair market price per parking stalls as well as competitive income cap rates. Next slide. Ultimately, we have arrived at a purchase price of $7.25 million for the property. The earnest money and closing obligations are all subject to board approval. And should the board elect not to move forward with the purchase, the earnest money would be released in full. Also, should the board approve the acquisition, staff will target the closing in February 18th. Title will be subject to the development obligation I mentioned earlier. There are 3 development obligations that exist on title and run with the land. These obligations were put in place as a condition of sale conditions of sale the last time the property changed hands in 2016. As such, they were in place under a different set of market conditions, and staff does not believe that this are reflective of post-COVID and post-COVID market conditions and realities. While the obligations can be avoided by paying monetary charges, staff intend to pursue other revenues for removing or revising the requirements post-closing. In terms of the budget and financial impact of the acquisition, as Will mentioned, the Old Town Chinatown budget is fully committed and not available for this purchase. However, the required funds are available in the SAFE Budget Rev 1, as of recent in the first adjustment. Finally, a portion of the ongoing property income can be set aside to partially offset any costs to future development obligations. While the long-term plan of the property is to ultimately support vertical development and construction, market conditions do not currently support the new development at this site. In the meantime, district parking is still a critical need for the neighborhood, and staff plans to continue operating the property as a public parking over the next several years. As market conditions improve over time, staff will work with the long-standing community partners around the West Side Action Plan, exploring different development possibilities and associated with the budget traders for potential project support. Yeah.
It will be fenced and their security will be,
That's correct, yes. Some of our immediate plans for improving the property would be to install a permanent fence. Right now, there's a temporary cyclone fence that is around the site, but we would install a nice.
More sturdy.
Yes, decorative, attractive-looking fence that matches the aesthetics of the neighborhood. We would also put in place some security enhancements, possibly some cameras, take a look at what the security patrol schedules, can look like in the evenings and in the mornings. And then also take a look at just the general cleanliness of the site as well as landscaping. There's some broken parts of the parking lot, like curbs that are broken, and some of the landscaping and the street trees are old and could stand to be replaced, and just generally spruced up and made into a more pleasing and inviting environment where people feel comfortable coming down and parking their cars and then shopping at the local businesses or going to the entertainment district.
also with the fence going in, will it close at a certain time at night, or will there be 24-hour surveillance, or?
So TBD right now, but there is a restriction that the city has put in place from a design perspective that does not allow a closing gate. And so there still will be sort of permissive access into and through the site unless we return to the city to ask for a modification to that. And so we'll have to think about that and what does the security picture need to look like in response to that.
Thank you, appreciate it.
Okay. Great, thank you. Any further? Good. So we actually do have some invited testimony as well. So if those folks are here, Lance Orton, Executive Director of City Team, Matthew Skelton, General Manager at the Hoxton, and Chris Pink, the owner of Paris Theater, are all here, I believe. So thanks, guys, for joining us.
Good afternoon, Commissioners, Director Wesley. Good to see you. My name's Lance Orton. Thank you for the opportunity for me to speak today. I want to begin by expressing my sincere respect for Prosper Portland and for the role this organization plays in stewarding the future of our beautiful city. I've consistently seen Prosper show up thoughtfully, relationally, and with a long-term lens, especially in neighborhoods like Old Town that require both patience and imagination. As Executive Director of City Team Portland, our new property is adjacent to this parking lot and currently houses up to 110 men in early recovery. These individuals are rebuilding their lives through sobriety, workforce readiness, and community reintegration. The environment around them matters deeply, not just physically, but psychologically and relationally. The adjacent parking lot, currently privately owned and unfenced, is already part of our daily routine. Today, City Team Portland pays nearly $1,000, actually more than $1,000 a month for 5 permits for my leadership team, and the lot remains unmanaged, opened, and vastly underutilized. From our perspective, Prosper's acquisition of this full city block represents something far more important than just parking. First, stewardship. Prosper Portland would be a responsive, values-aligned owner with a long-term commitment to Old Town rather than a short-term speculation. The stability matters to nonprofits, residents, and businesses trying to plan for the future. Secondly, safety and dignity. Even interim management of the lot, whether through fencing, lighting, or activation, would immediately improve the surrounding environment for our residents, staff, and neighbors. For men in recovery, predictability and safety are not abstract concepts. They are foundational to our success. Third, future potential. A full city block in Old Town is a rare asset. Under Prosper's care, this site could eventually support mixed-use development, workforce-connected housing, community serving space that complements the recovery ecosystem already taking shape. City Team Portland would welcome the opportunity to partner and collaborate in that future. And finally, I want to acknowledge Sarah King. The fact that she reached out early, asked our perspective, took the time to meet with us speaks volumes. That kind of relational leadership builds trust, and trust is exactly what Old Town needs right now. In short, City Team Portland supports this acquisition because it is good for Old Town, good for recovery-centered revitalization, and good for the city of Portland. We believe Prosper Portland is uniquely positioned to steward this opportunity wisely, and we are grateful to stand alongside you all. Thank you.
Just a quick note that it's always a mistake to go after Lance in everything.
Half of that was ChatGPT, full admitting there.
Hello, everyone. My name is Matthew Skelton. I'm the general manager of the Hoxton Hotel on the corner of Northwest 4th and Burnside. Our 120-room hotel and 4 restaurants are lucky enough to be right next to the historic Chinatown Gate. Since we opened in 2018, our hotel has worked to highlight the creative spirit of our small business neighbors, while providing a safe destination for hotel guests in Old Town. The parking lot at Block 33 has definitely had its struggles over the years. Drugs and violence have forced several of our neighbors to close. However, when you're walking Old Town, it's clearly a natural focal point to the neighborhood. You really can't escape it. It should be something that draws people in rather than appear abandoned as is its current state. With proper investment, security, infrastructure, and curb appeal, we can work to restore confidence in locals and visitors that Old Town is worth exploring. And with that, we can begin to work to occupy the many empty storefronts that surround just that lot. There is opportunity for Old Town to be the future host of beer gardens, just like our prior conversation and celebrations, as we previously discussed. However, it will require direct intervention and intentionality when rebuilding the neighborhood. We at the Hoxton have continuously pledged to help our neighbors thrive and sincerely hope that this esteemed commission will continue to support them as well. Thank you.
Hi, Chris Pink, owner of the Paris Theater and the Smoke Shop building next door to the Paris Theater. We're a theater company, and we have and invite many people into the Old Town neighborhood. We have limited parking in our area. We have activities that need to be situated, and we need safe places for our guests to be. We have a lot of positive plans for the future of the neighborhood. We have a lot of activations that we're planning. We have our sort of right now, which is like a blueprint for what we're calling the Pink Light District, which will allow us and the businesses in our neighborhood to activate the neighborhood to its full extent from our area, which right at Third and Burnside, and then across Burnside all the way through Chinatown. The safety, the way that Prosper Portland activates spaces and uses spaces is a huge benefit to both our guests that come and that we invite into the neighborhood that I don't think traditionally come into the Old Town neighborhood for other activities. We're seeing a whole new revival of people and activity that is happening literally right in front of our doors. And every time that there is any sort of negative activity that happens, it's impactful to our guests, and we literally will see loss of sales in a future show. For instance, this just happened. Like, we are now wanting to both partner and associate and facilitate any positive activity that we can have in the neighborhood, and that's what Portland or Prosper brings. I feel like it will be a benefit to our guests for just parking. It would be a benefit for activation in the neighborhood. It would be a benefit for feet on the street, people in the neighborhood, and that is a natural. We'll see a natural decrease in activities that aren't beneficial to creating a positive environment. And that's why we're supporting Block 33.
Much. Any questions for our guests?
We love it.
Come by more often, yeah.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
guys. Okay. All right then. Well, with that, I would love it if somebody would make a motion to approve resolution number 7635, authorizing the acquisition of real property located at 125 Northwest 4th Avenue. Please.
I move that we approve resolution 7635.
Great,
I
thank you.
second.
Thank you so much. All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, it's approved. Thank you so much.
you.
Great. Okay, so thanks to everybody. That was a great meeting. We have one more item, and that will be our executive session. So I'm going to read a disclaimer about that. The Prosper Portland Board will now meet in executive session pursuant to Oregon Revised Statutes 192.6602B to consult with counsel concerning personnel matters. Representatives of the news media and designated staff are allowed to attend the executive session. All other members of the audience are asked to leave the room. Representatives of the news media are specifically directed not to report on any of the deliberations during the executive session. The commission meeting will adjourn and will not reconvene in open session following the executive session. So that means we are now adjourned for our regular meeting, and we will not reconvene after the executive session. We'll just be done after executive. Yeah, okay. So we'll give a minute or two for people to leave, and then we'll have a chat. It's just going to be Hope with us today. That